Online.
Okay. You can.
Good day, dear colleagues. Welcome. Bonjour. Bienvenue. We'll get started in just a moment.
Bonjour. Industry, and I agree with you totally.
Okay.
Bonjour Elisabeth.
Bonjour, vous allez bien?
Ça va et
Bonjour
vous-même?
Elisabeth.
Bonjour Keita, ça fait un grand plaisir de vous voir. Bonjour.
Moi aussi, merci.
Bonjour Keita, bonjour Elisabeth.
Bonjour. Bonjour Constant.
Oh, le grand
Ça
Constant.
fait longtemps.
Ça fait un
Ça fait
moment.
longtemps. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Tu nous as oubliés.
Trop de travail, trop de travail.
Tu nous
Mais
as
non,
oubliés.
on vous accompagne toujours, hein?
Bonjour Elisabeth.
Bonjour. Vous allez bien?
Bonjour Keita. Bonjour Constant Yakame.
Oh,
Ouais,
Mohamed.
mon cher ami. Alès.
Alès, bonjour.
Bonjour, prof Alex. On a plein d'amis sur l'appel aujourd'hui.
Ouais.
Bonjour à tous. Bonjour
Ça
à
va très
tous.
bien, merci.
Bonjour
Marina,
Elisabeth.
bonjour Marina.
Bonjour Mohamed
Bonjour tout le
Lamine.
monde.
Bonjour
Oh.
Constant. Bonjour Sarah. Bonjour
Bonjour
Keita.
Bakouche.
Bonjour à tous et à toutes.
Alors.
Marina.
Bonjour à tout le monde.
Hello, Stephen.
I got confused with the 13 hours plus 2 GMT. So I was
Bonjour à
wondering, is it
tous.
15
Yes.
hours my time or?
You've made it
Yeah.
just in time. No worries.
Anyway, thank you.
Okay, dear colleagues, I think we'll get started. We have already 63 who've joined us and climbing. Bonjour tout le monde. We have interpretation. There is interpretation in English, French, and Portuguese. Temos também interpretação em português hoje. So please select on the globe icon the language you prefer to listen to, English, French, and Portuguese. No Arabic today, so sorry, but all of the working documents will be in Arabic. This is a promise and a commitment. Okay, welcome. So I think we'll get started. Welcome to this.
Okay, we'll do without it today.
Hello, yes?
Yeah.
Yes, the meeting today will be recorded, colleagues.
Hello?
Hello, yes.
Et comment on choisit la langue là?
Il y a un petit globe. Enfin, si vous voyez dans le Zoom, à côté, il y a des options différentes. Applications. Et là, il y a un petit, une petite cercle. Hein, et si vous appuyez, vous allez voir qu'il y a 3 options de langue. Anglais, français, portugais. Est-ce que ça se voit? Quoi qu'il en soit, s'il y a des soucis, vous pouvez nous écrire dans le chat et on va essayer de vous aider. Okay. Okay, colleagues, let's get started. If you have any challenges with the Zoom or with the interpretation, you're welcome to write us in the chat. And please do write us messages in the chat throughout the meeting today. We will have a large discussion section of this meeting today. We're very much looking forward to your feedback. But before we go there, the plan is that we will have some introductions from our dear colleagues from the African Union Commission. We have a recorded video from our colleague at the European Union Commission. And then we will have a presentation that will basically summarize the report that you have received, which is a summative report of the consultations that took place last year on the PAQAA, the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Agency. You will see that there is one suggestion to change the last A of PAQAA to Alliance, and there are reasons for that will be explained today. But the acronym shall remain the PAQAA. I think for most people on the call today, you are very familiar with the PAQAA because you have taken part in these consultations, not just last year, but in previous rounds. This is an important topic, subject, commitment of the African Union that has been on the table since 2015. The PAQAA initiative is providing technical assistance and support to advance with this very important institution, the PAQAA. Before we go there, I would like to give the floor, very importantly, to our colleague, Dr. Saïdou Madarou, who is the director of ST in the African Union Commission. And we would invite him to give some opening words highlighting the importance of the PAQAA for the African Union's strategic vision. Prof, c'est à vous.
Merci, Madame Elisabeth. Bonjour à tout le monde et soyez les bienvenus. Distingués représentants des agences et autorités nationales d'assurance qualité, chers délégués des ministères en charge de l'enseignement supérieur de l'Union africaine, chers partenaires de la Commission de l'Union européenne, distingués représentants des communautés économiques régionales, chers collègues des associations régionales et des réseaux d'assurance qualité, distingués partenaires de l'initiative PAQAA, chers participants, tout protocole respecté. C'est un honneur pour moi, au nom de la Commission de l'Union africaine, de prononcer les remarques d'ouverture et de mettre en lumière le contexte politique de la création de l'Agence panafricaine d'assurance qualité et d'accréditation PAQAA. La création de la PAQAA est une entreprise stratégique ancrée dans les principaux cadres continentaux. Elle soutient directement l'agenda 2063 de notre vision commune, l'Afrique que nous voulons, un continent uni, prospère et en paix. Elle est également en parfaite adéquation avec la stratégie continentale de l'éducation pour l'Afrique CESA, qui plaide pour des systèmes éducatifs inclusifs, de qualité et harmonisés à travers le continent. De manière cruciale, le cadre panafricain d'assurance qualité et d'accréditation, PAQAF, de l'Union africaine, adopté par le Conseil exécutif en 2016, a identifié la nécessité d'un organe continental garantissant la cohérence et la confiance dans les systèmes d'assurance qualité, la PAQAA étant engagée comme un pilier central dans ce sens. Chers participants, distingués représentants, depuis cette décision, la Commission de l'Union africaine, avec le soutien de l'Union européenne et d'autres partenaires stratégiques, poursuit cet objectif à travers l'initiative d'harmonisation, assurance qualité et accréditation en Afrique, PAQAA, actuellement dans sa troisième phase. Le programme PAQAA 3 continue de fournir une assistance technique essentielle pour permettre la mise en place de la PAQAA. Dans ce sens, un groupe de travail technique a été désigné par la Commission de l'Union africaine et a proposé un modèle progressif pour la mise en place et en commençant par des fonctions de facilitation, de renforcement de capacité, évoluant progressivement vers un organe de supervision continentale. La justification de la création de la PAQAA est évidente. En absence d'un organe continental, le paysage de l'assurance qualité reste fragmenté, ce qui compromet la reconnaissance mutuelle des qualifications, la limite des mobilités des étudiants et freine le développement d'un véritable espace africain intégré de l'enseignement supérieur. Une agence continentale telle que la PAQAA renforcerait la mise en œuvre des outils du cadre panafricain d'assurance qualité et d'accréditation, PAQAF, soutiendrait les organismes d'assurance qualité à travers le renforcement des capacités et les évaluations externes et favoriserait la confiance mutuelle et la transparence. Autant d'éléments essentiels pour atteindre les objectifs de la zone de libre-échange continentale africaine ZLECAf et de l'agenda 2063. Durant l'année 2024, PAQAA a facilité des consultations régionales inclusives dans 5 régions de l'Afrique. Ces consultations ont rassemblé plus de 110 parties prenantes, incluant les agences nationales d'assurance qualité, les ministères et les acteurs régionaux tels que le Conseil africain et malgache pour l'enseignement supérieur, le Conseil interuniversitaire pour l'Afrique de l'Est, l'Association des universités régionales d'Afrique australe et l'Autorité nationale pour l'assurance qualité et l'accréditation de l'éducation d'Égypte. Pendant toutes ces consultations, les participants ont réaffirmé leur ferme soutien au mandat de la PAQAA et souligné l'importance d'une structure de gouvernance claire, d'une base juridique solide et de la nécessité d'une approche progressive et consensuelle. Il existe aussi un large consensus selon lequel la PAQAA devrait, dans un premier temps, se concentrer sur le renforcement des capacités, les évaluations externes volontaires et la création d'un registre continental des agences conformes, des fonctions qui complètent sans se substituer aux rôles nationaux. Chers participants, la Commission de l'Union africaine demeure pleinement engagée à guider ce processus politique sensible et de manière participative. Nous proposons la création d'une alliance panafricaine en tant que structure de gouvernance intérimaire qui évoluera par la suite vers une agence légalement reconnue. Aussi, l'unité technique de la PAQAA, hébergée provisoirement à l'Association des universités africaines, peut continuer à appuyer ce travail dans le cadre de la PAQAA 3. La Commission de l'Union africaine s'engage activement avec les communautés économiques régionales, les responsables ministériels et la partie prenante nationale clé pour garantir l'appropriation du processus et son soutien politique. Distingués représentants, chers participants, alors que nous entamons cette session de retour d'information, nous appelons toutes les parties prenantes présentes à contribuer activement à l'affinement de la structure et de l'approche proposée. Nous vous invitons à soutenir la mise en place du Conseil intérimaire et à promouvoir une représentation régionale équitable et une approche partagée. Ensemble, nous parviendrons à la mise en place d'un système d'enseignement supérieur inclusif, de qualité à travers le continent pour une Afrique prospère, intégrée au service de ses citoyens. Je vous remercie de votre aimable attention.
You're muted, Elizabeth.
Merci, Marina. Thank you, Marina. Thank you, to our distinguished, dear, committed colleague, Director of SD at the African Union Commission for this panorama, this context, and this political call, this political argumentation for the PAQAA. You've outlined beautifully, I think, the process that has brought us here, and you've outlined the path ahead, which we are proposing today. So thank you so much for this intervention and for showing the political commitment of the African Union Commission to accompany this process. I would like to now turn to a short video that we have from our colleague Claire Herman, representing the European Commission. The European Commission is our counterpart, funder, and the European Commission has been diligently supporting this initiative since 2015 with technical assistance, and we are very grateful that we've been able to take it this far. So unfortunately, Claire Herman could not be with us today, but she's left us a short video.
Dear participants, dear colleagues, good afternoon. My name is Claire Herman. I'm working in the European Commission in the Directorate General in charge of education, youth, sports and culture, and more specifically in the International Cooperation Unit. I am in charge of supervising the PAQAA 3 initiative in the European Commission, aiming at supporting the harmonization of African higher education quality assurance and accreditation. This initiative is funded by the European Union in partnership with the African Union to support the development of an harmonized quality assurance and accreditation system at institutions level, national level, regional, and pan-African or continental level. I would like to thank all universities, quality assurance representatives today, national quality assurance agencies and authorities, but also regional associations, quality assurance networks, as well as national ministries of higher education, and also the relevant regional economic communities to be here in this busy time of the year. This validation seminar is a direct follow-up of consultations held last year, 24, under the PAQAA 3 initiative on the structure and governance of the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Agency, which the African Union planned to create already 10 years ago and which is very close to become reality. Some of you have participated in this regional consultation process last year, and I would like today to really appreciate their commitment, their time, the time they gave for this exercise, and also the expertise they agreed to share at the benefit of the project. It was absolutely necessary, and I would like to insist on that, for the PAQAA 3 team to take stock of the already existing quality assurance coordination mechanism in some of your regions, to listen to your needs, expectations, but also to take into account different approaches and potential sensitivities. I am very thankful also to the PAQAA 3 team and especially the PAQAA advisors for having drafted the short but very powerful summary report, recommendations, and way forward, which you received with invitation to this event. When reading it, it was very enlightening to me, and I hope that you really had the time to read it, as it will be the basis of the discussion today. I would like also finally to give tribute to the African Union Commission team in charge of higher education, especially Professor Seydou Madougou, the director of the African Union Department for Education, Science, Technology, Innovation, but also Sophia Ashipala and her colleagues. And Sophia is heading the education department in the African Union Commission, and I really appreciate her work in this frame, but also beyond this project. The African Union policy commitment and presence today is really key for the future establishment and effective functioning of PAQAA. Why does the EU invest in the PAQAA initiative since 10 years now? We are in the third phase of it. PAQAA 3 means a third phase. So you could ask yourself, why is the EU involved in it? But for us, by investing in PAQAA, we support the implementation of the African Union Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework, and with the aim to contribute to harmonization of quality assurance in higher education across Africa. But also by promoting mutual recognition of qualification, developing the PAQAA, this initiative fosters regional integration and mobility within Africa. And this aligns very well with the European Union broader goals under the Global Gateway Africa-Europe investment package, which includes as priorities to support youth mobility, cooperation in higher education, and skills development. PAQAA aims also to harmonize quality assurance standards across African universities, making it easier for EU countries to recognize African degrees and vice versa. So this mutual recognition is essential for us for student and staff mobility, building or developing joint degrees and implementing academic exchanges. So you understand that cooperation between African and European universities can be enhanced when both sides trust the quality assurance mechanism on the other side. So according to us, supporting PAQAA, it's building a bridge to foster joint research or higher education projects, staff exchanges, capacity building efforts. And this cooperation and trust building mechanism are very important in the present geopolitical context. The European Union is willing to be and to remain a reliable and committed partner of the African Union and its member states, in particular in the higher education field. Our two commissions and member states' foreign ministries have met recently in Brussels to prepare a big European Union African Union summit next December, probably in Angola. And I am certain that the cooperation between higher education and research institutions on our two continents will be high on the agenda of our politician heads. You understood that today is important and a very favorable moment to move forward on the PAQAA initiative at the benefit of the African universities, of higher education system in Africa, but also at our benefits for the development of cooperation between universities in the continent, but also a better connection of the higher education system, your higher education system with others in the world. These meetings represent a key milestones of the PAQAA 3 initiative as a whole, and I'm very thankful that you took the time to be present today and to contribute to make it a success. I wish you a really enriching discussion. I thank you for your attention, and I apologize again for not being live with you today, but with my deep heart, I assure you. Have a nice meeting and see you soon in the PAQAA 3 initiative. Bye-bye.
Okay, colleagues, so as you see, we have a very strong commitment from the European Union. I think the words that Claire has shared are very important, particularly at this moment in time. The EU remains committed to partnership and to supporting the African Union's vision and 2063 strategy. And today's meeting marks an important element of that. Finally, I would like to give the floor to Professor Olusula Oyewole, who you know very well as the Secretary General of the Association of African Universities. The AAU is a partner in implementation in the PAQAA Implementing Consortium alongside the German Academic Exchange Service, the DAAD, and the European Association for Quality Assurance in Higher Education, ENQA, and of course my institution, Obrial, represented here today also by my colleague Marina Larea and Apio Okweri. But we are, of course, then also joined by our strategic implementing partners, very important stakeholder organizations, many of which you will hear from throughout the course of this meeting. But before we go there, I would like to give the floor to Olusola, because he is also coordinating the technical unit that is supporting the PAQAA setup in the context of PAQAA 3. So Olusola, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. I am Olusola Oyewole, the Secretary General of the Association of African Universities. The conversation on the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Agency started almost 9 years ago. The AAU is pleased to be part of this conversation within these past 9 years, and we've also been pleased to be associated with Obreg Global and the European Union in executing the PAQAA 1, 2, and 3 initiatives in these past many years. One important spot in the conversation is the Accra meeting of 2024, where AAU agrees to keep the vision of PAQAA alive by accepting to serve as the technical unit of PAQAA. Within the past one year, we have been able to carry out regional conversation in collaboration with Obrel in 5 regions of Africa as directed by the African Union Commission. I need to appreciate all the various regions who took part in our conversation at all the meetings that we have with you. Your opinions, I believe, constitute what is going to be presented to this meeting of today. I look forward to our making collective decision together as Africans for the purpose of promoting the quality of higher education in Africa. One important document that has been produced in the course of these past 9 years is the African Standards and Guidelines for Quality Assurance. I hope that we can work together to keep the vision of PAQAA alive. It is going to give Africa the opportunity to ensure the quality of higher education in the continent. It's also going to be a forum for building the capacity of Africans for quality assurance. I want to especially appreciate Obrel for all your commitment to higher education in Africa, and also to appreciate the support of the European Union Commission in all the activities that we've been having in these past 9 years. Let me also appreciate the African Union Commission for your beliefs in the harmonization of higher education in Africa. Indeed, it's been a pleasure for AAU to work with the African Union Commission in advancing this vision. The Association of African Universities is available to work with all our regional associations, IUCA, SARUA, AWAWU, the other quality assurance agencies, and others. I believe that our decisions today will advance our efforts to promote the quality of higher education in the African continent. Today, we need to finalize our decisions on the structure, governance, and functions of PAQAA. Let me assure all of us of AAU readiness to continue to be a committed partner in this vision. I also want to believe that our decision today will help us to advance our activities in the Youth Mobility Scheme and also the Study and Research in Africa program. Thank you very much for connecting to this and looking forward to working with all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Olusola. Thank you for your leadership in this field, your support, the commitment of the AAU. I think it's very important that you've mentioned at the end the Study and Research in Africa initiative. This is an initiative that the European Union is launching. It will be a sister initiative to PAQAA and to other investments that the EU is making in the African higher education space. And one of the key elements of Africa as an attractive study and research destination are robust and transparent, quality assured and accredited higher education systems. And I think that makes our discussions around the PAQAA here today all the more relevant. So without further ado, we will move into the program, colleagues. We have for you a short presentation which will summarize the report you received. The report contains considerations, observations, points of agreement from the different consultations that took place last year that were mentioned, and it also contains a clear proposal for a roadmap for the way forward. After that, we will have a space whereby we will hear interventions from some of the very strategic regional bodies and stakeholders that have a clear role in the PAQAA governance going forward. And then we will open for discussion. But please, in the meantime, do start to share your comments, reactions, and questions in the chat. Okay. So we're not going to go in detail on PAQAA today because it is an initiative that in theory most of you know well. We will highlight some aspects of PAQAA. It is in its third phase, as Claire Herman has suggested. We are now in the middle of this contractual period of PAQAA, and we have approximately 2.5 more years that we can benefit from, particularly in terms of advancing with the setup of the PAQAA. And we encourage you to utilize this framework to move forward, but to also keep in mind that it has limitations. And so what are some of the things we're trying to discuss today is how we can secure the legacy of PAQAA, beyond its timeline. So if you'll go to the first slide, again, the context. We are here because of the technical assistance that PAQAA is providing to this agenda. But most importantly, we are here because the African Union has called upon us to implement a Pan-African quality assurance and accreditation framework with different tools and action lines that help to articulate quality assurance and higher education in the African continent, and also to help us to harmonize our standards and procedures as much as possible. In the background of that is, of course, the CESA, and the African Union Commission will be launching the new CESA very shortly, the CESA 2035, and of course the broader African Union vision for harmonization. Next slide. For those of you who need to recall what is the PAQAA, the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Framework, this framework was also agreed by the African Union in 2015 via a council decision, and it outlines, again, different tools and instruments that are at your disposal in terms of articulating, harmonizing the higher education sector, and specifically quality assurance, accreditation, and recognition of studies across borders. Amongst these instruments are certain instruments that already existed, like the Addis Recognition Convention, largely safeguarded by UNESCO and promoted by UNESCO. But it also includes other instruments such as the African Standards and Guidelines for Quality Assurance, the ASGQA, a continental level instrument developed to articulate different existing standards and guidelines for quality assurance to ensure that we can speak with a common language about quality assurance, both internal and external quality assurance in the African continent. And then, of course, you see other instruments here, and we've circled for you the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Agency, which was always intended to be an underpinning organization that would carry forward the agenda of the PAQAA in all of its dimensions with different functionalities. What we've done over the past 10 years is we've studied the feasibility of such an agency. We've looked at which functions are most important. We've looked at how we can ensure that this agency or this body does not duplicate existing efforts that happen at the national level by national quality assurance agencies or by regional institutions. We've worked very hard on asserting the added value of this continental body, and that proposition is the one that comes to you today. So I think it's very important when we discuss PAQAA that we understand that we've moved and we've progressed in this discussion, and there have been over time extensive consultations that have resulted in the proposals you see today. and that history is documented on a website that we've created for you that is hosted by the AAU, which my colleague Marina will show you later in the presentation. Next slide. Okay, so why all of this matters? I think the arguments have already been made by Professor Madou, by Claire Herman, by Olushula. It is about trust and recognition for higher education, for professional qualifications, both within the African continent and outside the African continent. And it's also about African ownership of its own quality assurance and accreditation processes and the trust that's generated around that. It's about, at the same time, building stronger national quality assurance systems and agencies, the important work that different networks are doing in the continent. And I can cite the RAFANAC network of the Francophone systems. I can cite the important work being done in Eastern Africa with the IUCEA, with the Association of Quality Assurance in Eastern Africa, similar initiatives done in SADC and also in Northern Africa. So it matters because while there are many important networks and initiatives that are reinforcing national quality assurance systems, we need to ensure that they're articulated at a continental level, that we're not just speaking to our language communities or to our respective regions, but that we're united on a continental level with a common voice and common standards and trust and recognition and mobility across the African continent. This is all part of the harmonization agenda. Again, it is not about impeding your own national deliberations about quality assurance and accreditation. It is about reinforcing them. And PAQAA as an instrument has provided technical assistance and support to the development and the consolidation of national quality assurance agencies, for example, always in line with the continental standards. And of course, it is about one continental voice for Africa and for African quality assurance in higher education. And we hope that the PAQAA, the Pan-African Quality Assurance and Accreditation Alliance Agency, will support and generate that common voice and really be a meeting point for all the important regions and networks that are already working so hard in this mission. I will now, if we go to the next slide, I will hand the floor over to my colleague, Apio Okwiri, who will tell you a little bit more about what PAQAA is doing that is directly linked to the PAQAA. Because right now we are providing a technical assistance. We are assuming as the PAQAA initiative many functions that the PAQAA should have in the future, but it is critical that these functions are sustained beyond the support PAQAA provides. So Apio, please.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you everyone for taking your time to be with us. So just to recall what is PAQAA, the instrument that we're using for technical assistance for Pan-African Quality Assurance Alliance, as will be described by Marina later. PAQAA is working on different areas, and I just want to highlight where we then situate this technical assistance in relation to PAQAA. So PAQAA has 4 work areas, which is, has four working areas, which is piloting the African credit transfer system, also working on higher education data capacity for policymaking, and also looking at capacity building in internal quality assurance and external quality assurance. And then we have the transversal working area that is looking at policy and capacity for regional integration, which then encompasses all the areas that we're working on. But specifically in relation to the topic of discussion today, we have the 3rd work area, which is on Pan-African Quality Assurance Alliance or agency, as will be described. And in this particular area, we have different functions, which should then be taken forward as we go on with this discussion and the setup of the Pan-African Quality Assurance Alliance. So through the PAQAA work area, we are working on capacity building for quality assurance agencies using consultancies, consultations for quality assurance agencies, trying to build up capacity for quality assurance agencies, and also consultation in relation to how do we set up this continental body that then will enable us to harmonize our system, as has been mentioned before. The second function that the PAQAA area is working on is the support of technical unit that Olusola has highlighted before. This is a unit that then will be able to carry forth some of the functions of the PAQAA, and specifically also having the PAQAA having the PAQAA advisors that are then working on setting up the statutes for the Pan-African Quality Assurance Alliance. And another function that is critical in terms of capacity building, but also enabling harmonization of quality assurance systems within the continent, is the agency reviews and consultancy visits against the African standards and guidelines for quality assurance. And then we also have, through this, a function that then is bringing together a pool of external reviewers, also including students who are trained to be able to carry forth the functions of doing agency reviews, consultative visits throughout the continent. And also doing training, external quality assurance training, which we've carried out online and will continue to carry out. And these functions are supposed to be taken forth by the PAQAA unit. Then last but not least is supporting interim governance structures, statutes drafting, and sustainability, which is one of the functions of this particular discussion. Next slide. So just to highlight already what we are doing in PAQAA, from PAQAA 1 to PAQAA 3, where we are right now, and these are the functions that the Pan-African Quality Assurance Agency is supposed to take forth. So we are carrying out external reviews of quality assurance agencies and national authorities against the African standards and guidelines for quality assurance. There are three specific categories. One is the agency reviews. These are for established quality assurance agencies who are then we carry out an exercise of doing a full review against the ASGQA. And then there's a second category of consultancy visits, and these are for new QA agents. We know within the continent, there are countries that have experience already set up quality assurance agencies, the countries who are already currently just setting up the quality assurance agencies, and the countries which this particular function still falls within the ministry. So under the consultancy visits, this is where the new QA agencies and the ministries who are carrying this responsibility of external quality assurance, they do a review or consult. We do a review against selected standards. Remember, this is not fully established quality assurance agencies or just new quality assurance agencies. So then we do a review against this standard. And this is a function that will then be carried forth as we continue within the PAQAA. And then last but not least, a category of follow-up visits. In PAQAA 1, we did agency reviews and consultative visits. So for the full agency reviews that were done, there were recommendations which were made. So to do a follow-up visit is to check, tailored specifically to look at the review recommendations and what has been done with the agency at this particular moment. So those are the three categories which are currently functions that we're doing under PAQAA initiative, but then these are the functions that the PAQAA will continue on. And so this is basically to build capacity, ensure that we have trust buildings in our national quality assurance, our continent, within the regions, and just have transparency of quality assurance and accreditation system across the continent. Next slide. So in PAQAA 3, we are carrying out these functions, and in the first call, we've arranged it so that we have different levels of call. So we currently have the first call, whereby we already sent out a call, and agencies and ministries have already submitted their interest to undergo either agency reviews or consultancy. And since we started PAQAA 3, we've already completed 2 specific reviews. One is for Mozambique and Malawi. Mozambique went through a PAQAA review in PAQAA 1, and so this is a follow-up visit. Malawi has gone through the first pilot of a PAQAA review within phase 3, and these are already completed. Now, currently, the agencies that are now in the process already, some are already doing this, going through the self-assessment. We have agencies that I will go through full agency review. INARES in Angola, we have NACA in Egypt, we have ANAC Guinea, we have ANAC Ivory Coast, which also went through a review consultancy visit in the previous phase, but now is going through a full agency review. We have CHE in Lesotho, and then we have ANAC Morocco, we have NCHE, Namibia, and ANAC Senegal. Senegal also went through a review, and now they're going through another review in this phase 3. Then for the countries that have just either newly set up quality assurance agencies or ministries, we have, we'll go through consultancy visits, is CIK in Algeria, Dakar, Burkina Faso, RS Cape Verde, ATAC Chad. We have CSKOES, Gabon, and ANAKIS of Republic of the Congo. Then we have Atenea, Tunisia. So this is the first call. So we've put them in phases. So there will be another call. So if your agency is still interested, we will be doing another call end of next year or beginning of the other year. And please be interested to take up this. And so for this we going to go through these functions, but these are functions that then will be taken forth once the PAQAA is set up. And then also we've done a call for nominations whereby we've reached out to you as agencies to provide expertise. The belief is that there are expertise within the continent, and there's need to ensure that we have sustainability, and therefore we need to have an African database of experts that then can carry forth, help with the reviews and consultancy visit within PAQAA 3, but then we also have a database that then can carry forth. Next phase. So in essence, the reviews and consultancy visit are specifically against the African standards and guidelines. And this was a product of PAQAA 1, as Elizabeth has mentioned before. We have this, and so this is a continental document, a continental tool that can be used by agencies, but also higher education institutions. Specifically for the reviews I've mentioned and the consultancy visits, we deal with Part C, whereby we are looking at internal, it's specifically used by quality assurance agencies. So checking against the standards and guidelines, how the agency or the ministry is doing on the specific functions. So this is a continental reference document based on standards and guidelines set up and produced and managed through the African Union Commission. And this is supposed to enable us be able to have an harmonized system that then understand each other and recognize each other's function. So there's a new future of national quality assurance bodies that then can also go through particular their own quality assurance and also be able to have transparency in quality assurance procedures. So I will hand over to my colleague to continue. Marina.
Thank you, Apio. And so this takes us to 2024, where, as Professor Saidu said, the regional consultations were made. And to prepare for this process, the first thing that PAQAA did was to create the PAQAA website as a repository of all the history. This is much more than just a website. It brings together in 3 languages all the key documents, the key milestones, the background, the reports, systematically, organically, and all in one place. Especially what you will find in this website is the 2023 final recommendations produced by the technical working group that are really the basis of all this discussion. And you can find them under this section, PAQAA under the PAQAA initiative. The website, of course, is an evolving page, an evolving institutional memory of the PAQAA, with every new output, with every update, with every resource that is made available and easy to find for all stakeholders, from ministries to national quality assurance agencies, to partners, to universities, of course, why not? So if you have not explored it yet, of course, we invite you to do so. Please, it is our common entry point for all the PAQAA process. So after we had the website ready, simultaneously, the PAQAA initiative organized 4 regional consultations, hybrid, to allow for the maximum possible participation, covering all African regions, in Cameroon, in South Sudan, in Mauritius, and in Egypt. More than 110 African key stakeholders took part. We targeted QA councils, QA agencies, ministries, regional economic communities, regional bodies. Some universities also participated. Some of you representing universities, we see you here also participating with us today. Each consultation generated or created a very detailed event report, which is available in the on the PAQAA website and on the PAQAA website. And together, these reports formed the basis for the consolidated summary report, the one that you received prior to this meeting, with conclusions and recommendations that we are validating here today, and that will shape the PAQAA and the next steps that we will be carrying out together. And I will summarize all these conclusions and all these recommendations in the next 3 slides. So let's look at the backbone. Sorry, I will admit Lesotho to the meeting. Okay. Let's look at the backbone of the recommendations, which is the legal framework and the governance structure of the PAQAA. So the recommendations are to first clarify the legal basis for the PAQAA. Is it going to be an official African Union body or an autonomous entity endorsed by the AU? Because this decision, of course, shapes everything else in the future. We also need to define how the PAQAA relates to national QA agencies and to regional QA frameworks and systems, so that there is no overlapping and that there is no conflict of interest or of functions. An important point also, very important, many stakeholders, and in at least 3 of the consultations, recommended exploring a new name, moving from agency to alliance. Because agency, they say, can be misleading. Why? Because the PAQAA does not yet accredit academic programs or higher education institutions, not even agencies. What PAQAA does now is to coordinate, to support, to connect. So its first role or function is to bring together QA bodies, bring together ministries, regional economic communities, and partners as an alliance, as a Pan-African alliance. So that is the recommendation from the stakeholders. On governance, they recommend that we need an inclusive but lean structure with a very well-balanced regional representation across all the 5 regions, that the roles must be clear, who is a full member, who has associate or observer status, what voting rights come with that, especially when the General Assembly is in place. And finally, to get this transition started in a very practical and operational way, the recommendation is to launch an interim governance body very soon under the PAQAA initiative, with national membership and well-defined terms of reference. If we go to the next slide on functions and funding, in terms of the functions, the consultations agreed to start with what works and what adds value immediately. So external reviews of national quality assurance agencies, to build trust, to build comparability, capacity building for agencies and systems that are still emerging or being created, maintaining a very transparent continental register for agencies that meet the ASGQA, and of course, keep promoting and revising the ASGQA regularly. And they say sensitive functions like accreditation would come later, only when a very strong governance structure is in place and widely accepted. Concerning the funding and the sustainability recommendations, so what stakeholders say is that, of course, the legal instrument must state very clearly how the PAQAA will be funded. There should be no mandatory membership fees at this early stage. Maybe services like reviews or trainings could include some fees in the future, why not? And hosting arrangements, secondments, and regional contributions could keep the technical unit running and build also real ownership for the PAQAA. And finally, we have the recommendations on communication and political buy-in. The recommendations are very, very clear and straightforward to make communications stronger, clearer, and multilingual so that everyone in the continent can share and can be up to date, to adapt messages to each audience, agencies, ministries, higher education institutions. Each one needs to know and understand exactly what's the value that PAQAA adds to its own institution and country. Organize sensitization meetings, not just for QA bodies, but directly with ministries and political leaders to secure real backing and political buy-in, and always clarify this PAQAA added value, show how it complements existing networks and existing processes and not duplicate them. So this is about building trust. That is what the recommendations and conclusions show us, to add clarity, to add momentum also, keeping everyone engaged at the different levels, both technically and politically. So to sum up, I would say that the consultations confirmed that there is a very strong will for a shared Pan-African body or alliance, as we call it now, but that it must be built step by step gradually. So today we're not just presenting this report, we're shaping the roadmap for the next 2 years, and I will hand it to Elizabeth again to present this roadmap to you that we will validate hopefully in this meeting. Thank you.
Okay, colleagues, so this is very important part right here. So I would encourage you to tune in because this is what will mark the next very concrete steps. We've done lots of consultation on the PAQAA. There's been lots of discussion, rich discussion that has evolved. We are now under some pressure to move forward, and to move forward in a way that is both realistic, cautious, but at the same time ambitious, given two factors. One, the opportunity of the new vision outlined in the next CESA strategy for Africa, which echoes regional level strategies as well. Just 2 weeks ago, there was a SADC higher education framework, which was endorsed by ministers. So we must also reference the regional visions and strategies. But secondarily, the fact that we have a privileged situation to work within the PAQAA framework for just over 2 more years, to take advantage of that technical assistance and the structure it gives to this process. But that after those 2.5 years, we might not have the luxury of the technical assistance anymore. And that means we urgently need to consolidate a structure that can be sustained and bring forward this momentum. The pathway to doing that is proposed as such. Basically, we would begin this journey as an alliance that Marina outlined. This would not be at this point in time an agency that the African Union sets up. It might adopt a legal status under the AU framework in the future, but we're not waiting for that moment. What we are doing is utilizing the African Union Commission's political support to rally a select number of countries and their respective quality assurance authorities around an interim structure, which we would call a council at this point in time. The council, again, will be voluntary. There will be clear terms of reference that you will receive. We would engage the respective quality assurance authority through the endorsement also of the ministry. So we are really calling upon you at a country level, but the representative in the council would be the quality assurance authority. That might look different in different countries, depending on where you are in the establishment of your authorities. But no country would be, in essence, excluded. Once this interim council is constituted, and again, we will open a period of about 5 months to allow you to respond to this call, and also to seek more clarity, to pose your questions. If you need, a bilateral meeting with your respective colleagues in your ministry or in your QA agency to explain what this is and what it entails, the PAQAA team and the PAQAA technical unit will provide that. But ultimately, by October of this year, we would like to have the interim council constituted. There will be a minimum quota of countries to be represented per region so that this functions in a geographically equitable way. It is an alliance of the willing. So if you don't feel that the political environment is right at this moment in time to join us in the council, you can always join at a later point in time. But those who join at this early phase would be expected to be truly engaged in the alliance and in the future legal establishment of this body. We would also expect that in the interim council would be important regional associations, organizations that have a very clear mandate in quality assurance, and also particularly those that have a direct link in their own respective governance structures to the ministerial level. And I'm thinking very clearly about CAMES, I'm thinking very clearly about IUCEA, but there are other regional bodies as well. So we would invite those bodies also into this interim council. The interim council will oversee then a period through which the statutes would be drafted. We have a team that was mentioned, the PAQAA advisors, carefully selected, fully operational team that has an impressive curricula and background and experience in leading in this sector. And they will be supporting the drafting of the statutes. There will be virtual meetings of the interim council to oversee this process, to deliberate on all the open questions around the governance structure. And ultimately, the idea is that in May of 2026, again, subject to approval, we would meet in person as the council to define where we are in the process, what is missing, where the open questions are, and then ultimately agree to the remaining work plan under the framework of PAQAA. Again, the ultimate goal is that by the end of 2027, we will have a legal status for a PAQAA, and that legal status will have statutes that define the governing body, and that the different governing institutions will have been constituted. In addition, there should be a sustainability financial plan and all that entails. So this is the goal by the end of 2027 when PAQAA is coming to a close. What you see here on this slide takes us through the next year. to finish, and now you can go to the last slide, what do we expect from you? Particularly quality assurance authorities and agencies and ministries and their respective departments for quality assurance. Comment on and validate these recommendations and the roadmap. Endorse the way forward. Spread the word. Spread the word not only about the steps in establishing the PAQAA, but also about the opportunities that are currently being provided linked to the PAQAA under the PAQAA initiative, such as the agency reviews and consultancy visits and the EQA training that PAQAA has outlined. And please join us as part of the interim council. The more, the better. We need diversity of voices and systems in this interim council because it is ultimately you who will be determining the shape, the form, the function, and the legal status as we move forward. Okay, I will start there. This slide, again, it just reiterates what this council is, so as not to scare anyone. It is voluntary, like I said. It will also engage regional associations and organizations that have a direct mandate. It will have a minimum quota from each African region. There will be clear terms of reference, and all major documentation will be in English, French, and Portuguese, and also Arabic. Arabic sometimes comes a little bit after, but I should note that the African standards and guidelines are also in Arabic, and we commit to having all 4 languages. And finally, a commitment to endorsing the formal legal status and statutes and financial model by the time PAQAA 3 concludes. Okay, colleagues, we've been speaking a lot. I'm sure you have many questions and comments. I would like to first give the floor briefly to several of our strategic partners that also have a direct stake in this affair, to give their comments on this, what this means for their organizations, briefly, and then we will open the floor. So I believe we have with us here today, and again, I haven't been able to cross-check the online participation, but I believe we have IUCEA represented.
Yes, we have Michael from IUCA. We have from CAMES Briand.
Okay.
Zachary. And we have Stephen from Sarua, Stephen Simukanga, and no one from Nakwae was expected.
Okay. Why don't we
so
start?
far?
And if Michael is prepared, I would invite the representative, Dr. Michael Mawa of IUCEA, to provide some inputs, reactions, interests for IUCEA, briefly, and then we'll move on to CAMES. Michael, are you there?
Thank you very much, Elizabeth, and thank you, colleagues. If you allow that you proceed with the other regional bodies, let me consult with the executive secretary. He was struggling to join. He had network problem, but let me see if he can get on board.
Okay.
I'll come in later.
No problem. Okay. With that said, then let's, if you agree, Briand, Zachary, we will go to CAMES.
Ok.
Si vous êtes prêts.
Oui. Merci beaucoup, Elisabeth. Merci pour la parole. Bonjour à tous, distingués partenaires en vos rangs, grades et qualités. Je m'exprime ici au nom du Conseil africain malgache pour l'enseignement supérieur, le CAMES, en tant que partenaire stratégique engagé de longue date en faveur de l'assurance qualité sur le continent africain. Donc, le CAMES salue la qualité du processus consultatif mené en 2024 dans le cadre de l'initiative PAQAA 3, ainsi que la clarté des recommandations formulées pour faire avancer la structuration de la PAQAA. Nous tenons à exprimer notre soutien plein et entier à l'approche pragmatique proposée qui mise sur une alliance panafricaine évolutive structurée autour d'une gouvernance inclusive et fonctionnelle. Nous nous félicitons particulièrement de la reconnaissance de la diversité des contextes régionaux et de la volonté d'asseoir la PAQAA sur des fondations solides, respectueuses des mandats existants. Donc, le CAMES réaffirme à cet égard son engagement à contribuer activement à la mise en œuvre de cette vision notamment à travers sa participation à la future structure intérimaire. Enfin, nous appelons à ce que la PAQAA puisse capitaliser sur les synergies régionales existantes, tout en clarifiant progressivement ses fonctions stratégiques, en particulier dans le domaine du renforcement des capacités et des revues externes des agences d'assurance qualité. Donc, merci encore aux organisateurs et partenaires pour cette dynamique collective que nous avons l'honneur de rejoindre et de renforcer. Merci beaucoup, Elisabeth. Je ne sais pas si M. Liré souhaite rajouter des mots du CAMES.
C'est bon. Vous avez parlé au nom de nous tous. Merci.
Ok, merci beaucoup, cher Briand, excellent. Effectivement, l'appui du CAMES est essentiel. Et nous avons pu profiter de l'accompagnement de CAMES dans tous les travaux qu'on a fait dans les autres phases de PAQAA aussi, qui nous mènent jusqu'à là. Je voudrais maintenant passer la parole, si je peux, à Sarua. I would like to now pass the floor to Dr. Stephen Simokanga, representing the Southern African Regional Universities Association, to speak on behalf of SADC.
Unless I'm wrong, I'm not seeing him online. Sorry.
He was there
He
with us.
left. Yes, he was.
Him.
He was.
Okay.
Yes, we lost him.
Okay, I apologize, colleagues. We have some issues with the capacity of the meeting today. We are doing our best to make sure all the colleagues that need to get admitted get admitted. This was an error on our part. Before we go to the raised hands, I would also like to offer the floor to other strategic partners. I know that our colleagues at ANACSUP, who hold the presidency of RAFANAC, and I see Prof. Massamba Diop qui est avec nous, qui a aussi la présidence du RAFANAC et de la convention d'Addis. Donc, je vous donne la parole et je dois mentionner que la RAFANAC et l'ANACSUP est aussi un partenaire stratégique de PAQAA 3. Prof. Diop.
Oui, bonjour Elisabeth. Est-ce que vous me recevez? Tout le monde me reçoit? Voilà,
oui.
Parfait. Merci encore une fois, Madame Elisabeth, représentante de PAQAA et Obréal, Monsieur le secrétaire général de l'AUA, Monsieur le représentant de l'Union africaine, Madame la représentante qui est intervenue en distanciel tout à l'heure, représentante donc de l'Union européenne, Mesdames, Messieurs, les représentants des agences nationales, chers membres du RAFANAC, du réseau africain francophone des agences nationales d'assurance qualité, et chers collègues et collaborateurs, Mesdames, Messieurs, les autres représentants des autres réseaux africains, Mesdames et Messieurs, honorables invités. Je voudrais, Elisabeth, articuler mon intervention en 2 points spécifiquement. Le premier point, naturellement, c'est des remerciements que je voudrais adresser à l'endroit de votre organisation pour tous les efforts qui sont réalisés depuis la création de ce projet, depuis la mise en place de ce projet jusqu'à maintenant. Nous saluons à sa juste valeur ces efforts qui sont faits pour accompagner l'assurance qualité, mais également participer au développement, à l'émergence de l'enseignement supérieur à l'échelle africaine. Le deuxième point, spécifiquement, c'est vous renouveler, en tout cas, ou manifester notre soutien sans réserve, vraiment indéfectible, à vous accompagner. Et au nom du RAFANAC que je dirige, au nom de la convention d'Addis Abeba, dont je suis également le président, je voudrais m'engager et engager tous mes collaborateurs à contribuer à la réussite de tout le projet dans ses différentes phases, mais aussi vous dire combien nous soutenons l'approche que vous avez déclinée ici. Pour finir, je voudrais m'inscrire, en tout cas, et inscrire tout ce qui m'accompagne dans la réalisation de nos objectifs dans la dynamique que vous avez déjà enclenchée. Je vous remercie encore une fois de plus et je souhaite que les étapes soient franchies avec succès, en collaboration avec tous les acteurs, toutes les parties prenantes, comme vous dites, toutes les stakeholders. Merci infiniment.
Merci, merci beaucoup. Effectivement, l'appui de Rafanac et du Sénégal est essentiel pour nous. Donc, je pense que si on pourrait compter sur votre appui pour l'appel qu'on va faire pour le structure intérimaire, je pense que ça va être vraiment, vraiment clé. Avant de passer, je vois la main de prof Sadek, mais avant d'y aller, je voulais donner la parole à nos collègues partenaires stratégiques qui représentent le réseau Lusophone, qui s'appelle Raquez, pardon. Vejo que temos o Kanaki, que é um parceiro estratégico de PAQAA. Então, não sei se Maria Luísa pode falar se quer.
Sim, muito obrigada, Elizabeth. Estou aqui. Não sei se estão me a ouvir. Conseguem me ouvir? Peço só um sinalzinho aí.
Não temos o vídeo.
Sim.
Vimos.
Muito. Não tem português?
Sim, sim, te escutamos
Tá
bem.
bom.
Tudo bom.
Sim. Tá bem. Tá bem. Muito obrigada. Eu primeiro queria agradecer por este encontro. Queria agradecer também pelas palavras de abertura da União Europeia, da OBREAL, da EEU, de todos os parceiros e todas as contribuições. Bom, eu também vou dar o meu testemunho sobre a participação do processo. Penso que a apresentação que aqui foi partilhada foi suficientemente clara sobre o processo, os esforços que foram dados pela equipe do Aqua 3, desde o Aqua 2, as recomendações todas que foram dadas ao longo do processo, as consultas, e eu pessoalmente senti que houve muita evolução sobre as questões que foram levantadas dentro do processo de auscultação desde 2022 e até 2024. Senti que as questões que foram levantadas como questões financeiras, de sustentabilidade desta futura agência, que agora passou para a denominação Aliança, as questões sobre a estrutura e governação, a questão da inclusão, que é uma questão que tem sido muito fortemente levantada neste processo, está aí patente. E uma outra questão é também que está aí patente nas recomendações é a questão mesmo que era muito crítica e acreditamos que os estatutos depois deixarão muito bem claro, é a questão dos papéis, não é? Das funções, das atribuições desta agência ou desta aliança em relação às agências nacionais, em relação às instituições pan-africanas. Penso que estas são as grandes questões. Neste momento, nós estamos para validar o futuro desta agência. E penso que o importante é estarmos de acordo de que não é a iniciativa do Aqua 3. O Aqua 3 está a apoiar. É uma política, não é, que foi aprovada pela União Africana. A União Africana apenas solicitou um apoio à União Europeia. Eu penso que talvez isto é que não estava claro desde o início e precisa estar muito bem claro para que realmente todos nós possamos assumir, olhando para as vantagens e não desvantagens, mas desafios que esta nova instituição ou estrutura de garantia de qualidade em África irá trazer. E uma outra questão será, claro, também que os estatutos deverão estabelecer, penso que todos nós teremos esta oportunidade de participar, a clareza em termos de quem irá hospedar definitivamente, a relação desta nova estrutura com... Agora posso falar com mais autoridade, porque não tenho conflito de interesses, com a rede africana de garantia de qualidade do Africoane, qual será o papel do Africoane, qual será o papel desta agência. São questões muito pequenas, mas que terão o seu impacto na implementação e nos resultados ou no sucesso. Mas ficou clara a ideia de que todos precisamos ter em volta do ISG África uma linguagem comum para que, como continente, tenhamos uma melhor transparência em termos dos processos de garantia de qualidade com os outros continentes. E muito obrigada.
Muito obrigada, Maria Luisa, excelente. Thank you so much for these comments, support, but also for the questions that you raised. That will certainly be the subject of discussion of the work that will be done under the interim council. I see Michael Mawa is back. So Michael, I will give the floor back to you if you are ready, and then we'll go to Professor Sadek.
Yes, thank you very much, Elizabeth. Good afternoon, good morning. I would like to take this opportunity to make a few remarks on behalf of the Executive Secretary of the Inter-University Council for East Africa, Professor Gaspard Banyakimbona. He had really hoped to be fully in the validation workshop, but because he's traveling and the network has affected his participation. He requested me to convey his gratitude to the organizing committee, the organizing team for inviting us for this validation workshop, a very important process in validating the input from the various regions in Africa. He particularly acknowledges the involvement of IUCA in the process, and particularly the validation, the workshop, consultative workshop that was held in Juba, which brought together various stakeholders in the East African region, the national councils and commissions, the permanent secretaries from ministries of education, vice chancellors and rectors of higher education institutions, and the quality assurance network in the region. All these key stakeholders made their input, made their observations, and raised the questions, the critical questions. We are happy that many of these questions have been responded to in the observations and recommendations. The issue of the legal status of the alliance or the agency was very much discussed. And as a region, we are looking forward to the statutes, the legal statutes and the instruments that clarify the mandate and the powers of the agency as such, and how this agency will relate with the national authorities and the regional bodies is something that we are looking forward to seeing in the statute as will be elaborated. IUCA also is looking forward with its partners in the region to the next steps as outlined in the presentation, the next steps of involving the different national authorities in the establishment of the interim council. We are also looking forward to that. Above all, we hope that IUCA and the East African partner states will be fully involved in the process, make their contribution, and gradually establish this important organization. We are also looking forward to the other capacity building enhancement steps, which we think are very critical for the agencies, the national agencies, to function more appropriately. Capacity enhancement needs to be a continuous process, and IUCA is looking forward to these particular steps that will enhance the capacity of the national authorities to contribute at the national level, contribute at the regional level, and contribute at the continental level in shaping the harmonization of the higher education system in Africa. Thank you very much, and wish you all the best in the deliberations. I submit.
Thank you so much, Michael, and our regards to Professor Gaspard. We appreciate his support and leadership greatly. I see two hands. I would like to give the floor to Professor Sadek, who's been waiting patiently. Allez-y, je vous donne la parole.
Rebonjour à l'ensemble des collègues et des amis. Et moi, de prime abord, j'apprécie énormément donc, les efforts qui ont été faits pour essayer donc, de présenter un cheminement pour la création de cette agence qui, ma foi, depuis Addis Ababa, quand même, a fait du chemin, du moins au niveau donc, de sa conception. Et donc, je tiens à remercier l'ensemble des intervenants de tout à l'heure qui ont essayé donc de mieux préciser un certain nombre de choses intéressantes pour nous, de manière à bien suivre un peu cette évolution, surtout la feuille de route qui me paraît, à mon sens, très réaliste et donc assez pragmatique. Voilà, moi j'ai pris la parole surtout pour faire revenir sur deux points qui me semblent très, très importants. Le premier, c'est par rapport à l'autonomie de l'agence. On en avait déjà parlé depuis Addis Ababa sur ce point crucial qui est l'autonomie des agences pour éviter toutes sortes de conflits d'intérêts. Et donc, à mon sens, cette agence doit être à côté de l'Union africaine, mais pas dans l'Union africaine, pour justement lui permettre justement d'avoir cette autonomie qui lui permet de faire son travail de manière correcte. Le second point sur lequel je voudrais intervenir, c'est cette possibilité de changement de nom en passant de l'agence à Alliance. Moi, je pense que, et ça c'est bien sûr c'est personnel, c'est que Alliance est un terme qui est péjorativement connoté. Quand on fait une alliance, c'est toujours contre quelqu'un, c'est assez agressif, etc. Et donc, pour rester un peu si vous, dans la sphère économique, en économie, il y a une théorie de l'agence qui fait que cette agence est un appendice d'une grande organisation, etc., pour assurer un certain nombre de missions. Et je pense que dans ce cas-là, cette structure ou cette institution correspond exactement au terme de l'agence. Et je vous remercie beaucoup.
Excellent, merci beaucoup pour ces interventions. Effectivement, le choix de mettre le mot alliance était aussi lié au fait qu'on ne voulait pas changer le PAQAA comme dénomination. Mais c'est vrai qu'en anglais ou bien en français, il y a peut-être des interprétations légèrement différentes sur la connotation. D'accord, je voudrais passer la parole à Prof. Alès, qui est aussi un de nos PAQAA conseillers, PAQAA Advisors. Prof. Allez-y avec votre intervention.
Merci beaucoup, Elisabeth. Okay, merci beaucoup, Elisabeth. Merci beaucoup, Marina. Et bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour, Sadak, mon collègue algérien. Tout d'abord, je vous félicite pour les recommandations et les conclusions qui ont été faites de la consultation qui a eu lieu le 4 novembre au Caire pour la région nord-africaine et ouest-africaine anglophone. C'est vraiment fidèle, je dois souligner que ça a été vraiment fidèle. Les discussions ont été vraiment bien et concisement résumées. Et comme vous l'avez dit tout à l'heure, Elisabeth, nous avons justement discuté alliance et agence, parce que, et je l'ai vu dans les recommandations générales d'aujourd'hui, pour éviter et clarifier la base légale de l'agence, il ne faut pas que les agences nationales pensent que c'est une agence panafricaine qui va avoir leurs attributions et leurs missions. Donc, elle n'est pas là pour évaluer les établissements d'enseignement supérieur public et privé au niveau national, mais elle est plutôt là pour accompagner, pour justement auditer peut-être et orienter les agences nationales d'assurance qualité. Donc, mon alliance, bon, on ne peut pas penser à ça comme le temps, alliance. Mais je pense que c'était une bonne idée de l'avoir. Ce qui est maintenant de la gouvernance, il est tout aussi bien que comment que le nom soit arrêté. Il faut qu'elle ait une autonomie. C'est bon d'avoir l'autonomie, mais aussi garder une attache avec les ministères. Parce que le côté technique est important. Sa force, elle va la tirer des ministères. Et les agences aussi, quoi qu'on dise de leur autonomie, elles ont toujours une certaine dépendance de leur ministère. Aussi bien côté que côté enseignement supérieur et accréditation. Parce que la majeure partie des agences que je connais, elles elles rendent compte ou elles sont le bras exécutif du Conseil national présidé généralement par le ministre de l'Enseignement supérieur et de la Recherche scientifique. Nous avons aussi aujourd'hui et au cours des consultations parlé de l'indépendance financière. Il faut que cette agence ait aussi une certaine autonomie financière. On a discuté de comment trouver cette autonomie. On a parlé des contributions faites par les États, mais aussi elle doit avoir des entrées. Et ces entrées, ces revenus, doivent être des consultations qu'elle fait et aussi des expertises que cette agence aura à faire. Et pour faciliter aussi la contribution des ministères, nous avons discuté qu'au lieu de donner des fonds que peut-être des gouvernements n'ont pas, on peut faire le cours à des participations en nature de ces pays, comme par exemple prendre en charge une partie du personnel ou prendre en charge le local ou le siège de cette organisation. Donc, toutes ces idées ont été discutées dans les différentes consultations et discutées aujourd'hui. Et en ce qui nous concerne, nous, la Mauritanie, et je parle ici au nom de mon ministère de l'Enseignement supérieur et de la Recherche scientifique, nous adhérons et nous confirmons notre support à la mise en place de cette agence. Et je vous remercie, Elisabeth.
Excellente contribution, merci. I would like to stress that I think the questions being raised are extremely important today, but they will not all be resolved today. And I think that's why we're counting on you to take part in the interim council to be able to actively address with your peers these questions so that we can move forward. Before we see, I see two hands, Salifou and Professor Fouad Shafi, I believe from Morocco. Before we go there, I would like to give the floor to Stephen Simukanga from Sorua, who I believe is back with us. Stephen, if you're there and you can hear us, would you like to make your intervention?
Thank you, Elizabeth. I was driving and I kept on going in and out. Yeah, we did have a regional meeting in August last year, and as a region, I think the discussions were very fruitful. I think we all agreed. The issues that are being discussed now came up in our meeting, and the same concerns that are coming out here. But as Sarua, as a regional association of universities, we agreed that we shall participate further. Hello?
Yes, please continue.
Okay. Yeah, we agree that we will participate further in the advocacy for PAQAA in the region, and also participate in activities that will promote the work of PAQAA going forward. But as a region, we are aligned to PAQAA. Even at SADC level, we just attended the SADC Ministers of Education meeting 2 weeks ago. They are aware of PAQAA activities, and PAQAA is one of those activities that are embedded there. And the ministers are aligned to this, and they actually urged member states to, especially the agencies, to align to the African standards guidelines. So in terms of knowing what PAQAA is, as a region, I think the awareness is there, but we want to advocate further as PAQAA is being put into place. And, we shall participate in the activities that will follow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Stephen. And it's very important that Sarua, as a regional institution, is involved going forward also in the advocacy. And we've also had a commitment from the SADC Secretariat to promote the interim council and the participation in it. And I know a number of SADC countries are connected here today, including Mauritius, including Mozambique, Angola. So we thank you. I would like to give the floor now to Fouad Shafi.
Bonjour Elisabeth, donc merci pour merci pour tous les efforts entrepris pour la réussite de la création de notre agence panafricaine. Et aussi, je remercie tous les participants pour le partage des idées. Donc, je veux juste savoir, ou bien un peu concernant la composition du conseil, le conseil par intérim qui va prendre en charge le lancement, le locomotive de notre agence panafricaine. Donc, la composition du conseil et aussi la répartition géographique. Quand vous avez dit qu'on aura 2 pays par région, donc pour un équilibre géographique, quelles sont les régions qui seront représentées, les réseaux qui seront aussi représentés? Est-ce que les pays qui ont des agences ou bien des projets de création d'agences qui vont être dans le conseil, ou une liste des pays par région pour savoir, ou bien pour avoir une idée globale sur la composition de ce conseil. Merci.
Merci pour ce commentaire et cette question importante. Donc, ce qu'on a discuté avec la commission de l'Union africaine, c'était d'avoir effectivement une représentation des 5 régions officielles de l'Union africaine, donc le sud, l'est, l'ouest central et le nord, et qu'il y aura un minimum de 2 pays par région. Plus la participation minimum des institutions intégrantes des conseils de ministres en Afrique. Il s'agit de IUCEA en Afrique de l'Est et aussi du CAMES. Mais ça ne veut pas dire qu'il n'y a pas d'autres réseaux qui ne peuvent pas y être. Bien sûr que non. Donc, on compte sur la participation de RAFANAC, par exemple, et les autres réseaux. Après, la définition dans les statuts du statut de chaque organisation qui n'est pas un pays membre ou une agence, ça c'est à vous de voir. Parce qu'on a déjà parlé dans les autres consultations de, si les réseaux devraient avoir un autre statut, votant, non votant, si le pays doit être représenté par l'agence et dans le cas où le pays n'a pas d'agence, si ce pays a le même droit de vote. Donc, il y a des détails très importants sur la gouvernance que vous devriez aborder dans le conseil intérimaire. Mais la composition du conseil intérimaire, en principe, c'est ouvert. Mais il y aura un minimum, hein, un quota minimum par région, 5 régions de l'Union africaine et aussi deux organisations essentielles intégrantes des conseils de ministres. Voilà, mais si vous avez vraiment des suggestions à propos, on avait aussi parlé du fait que c'est peut-être nécessaire d'avoir dans le conseil intérimaire quelques pays qui sont très importants en Afrique en termes de la magnitude de leur système d'assurance qualité, qui sont des systèmes d'assurance qualité établis, bien consolidés. Enfin, nous n'avons pas mis cette spécification à ce stade-ci, mais ça pourrait aussi être discuté. Okay, I see a hand from our colleague Salifou from UNESCO.
Ok. Merci, chère Elisabeth. Je voudrais d'abord, au nom de l'UNESCO, remercier l'équipe de Raconte-toi Initiative qui est vraiment en première loge pour l'organisation et la mise en place de cette initiative. Et comme vous le savez très bien, l'UNESCO assure la gouvernance mondiale de l'enseignement supérieur et donc de ce point de vue-là, a un regard sur tout ce qui se fait au niveau de Raconte-toi et particulièrement sur l'Agence panafricaine d'assurance qualité et d'accréditation et on peut dire aussi sur l'Alliance, on va se prononcer là-dessus. Donc, et je pense que vous avez tout le soutien de l'UNESCO en tant que aussi partenaire stratégique qui était là au niveau donc de l'initiative PAQAA 3. Alors, nous allons appuyer tout ce qui est fait et nous saluons effectivement tout le processus inclusif qui a été mené au niveau des différentes régions et on voudrait également saluer les parties prenantes qui sont également là. Comme vous le savez très bien, la Convention d'Addis fait partie de l'écosystème de PAQAA et donc une partie intégrante de PAQAA. Et de ce point de vue-là, je pense que dans la gouvernance de l'alliance ou de l'agence, il faudra pouvoir examiner les possibilités donc de relations entre le comité de la Convention d'Addis. Actuellement, par exemple, c'est le Sénégal qui assure la présidence de la Convention d'Addis. C'est-à-dire que dans cette gouvernance-là, il faut prévoir les rapports entre le comité de la Convention d'Addis, je dirais le président du comité, et l'alliance ou l'agence. Ça, c'est très important. Deuxièmement, en ce qui concerne la composition, il y a des collègues qui se sont prononcés sur le conseil intérimaire. Nous souhaitons effectivement que l'UNESCO soit présente dans la mesure où la question d'assurance qualité se pose au niveau mondial. Et il faut être vraiment au courant de toutes les tendances mondiales, particulièrement à l'aide de l'intelligence artificielle et des technologies émergentes qui touchent l'enseignement supérieur et donc l'assurance qualité, que l'UNESCO, en tant que, par exemple, conseiller, puisse être là, en tant que membre observateur, peut-être, pour des questions de veille et fournir les conseils appropriés. Et dernier point que je voudrais aussi proposer, je voudrais proposer véritablement que l'alliance ou l'agence soit hébergée au sein de la Commission de l'Union africaine. Et là, ça va nous faire gagner déjà un problème de résolu, à savoir le local. Et là, je pense que le directeur du département éducation, sciences, technologies et innovation, bien sûr, peut examiner cette proposition et avec naturellement le commissaire qui entrera en fonction. Et dernier point très, très important, comme vous le savez très bien, le PAQAA comme l'Agence panafricaine d'assurance qualité d'accréditation, un long processus qui a été validé par, on va dire, la Commission de l'Union africaine, en particulier le comité technique spécialisé, qui rassemble les experts de l'Union africaine. Je voudrais proposer ici, et donc les ministres, d'accord, je voudrais proposer ici de ne pas oublier ce point-là. Parce que nous qui sommes ici aujourd'hui, on ne rassemble pas tous les 55 États membres de l'Union africaine. Or, au moment où on a soumis la question de PAQAA, c'est-à-dire le cadre, et de l'agence, le comité technique spécialisé avait donné son accord. Et donc, je pense que c'est une dimension à prendre en considération. Je vous remercie et l'UNESCO se tient à disposition. Merci infiniment, Elisabeth.
Merci. Merci beaucoup pour ces commentaires. Et effectivement, l'UNESCO est un partenaire stratégique de PAQAA. On compte sur vous aussi pour les synergies avec l'initiative importante de Campus Africa. Je pense que les points sont bien notés et les suggestions, enfin, sur le siège, etc., ça peut être une suggestion qu'on rapporte au Conseil intérimaire. Et on espère bien sûr que l'UNESCO participe au Conseil intérimaire. Donc, merci, hein, tout est bien noté. Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres interventions? Do you have other comments to make, dear colleagues? Questions, concerns at this stage? I don't see any other hands. Please note that we will be doing a summary report from this meeting. We will send you also the video recording. And with your approval, we will then be launching the call for the interim council. This will be accompanied by terms of reference. We will circulate those terms of reference first to the PAQAA the PAQAA steering committee and also our advisors. So if you have any concerns about how those terms of reference will look, please reach out to the PAQAA steering committee members or your PAQAA advisors. I should note that in Afrique de l'Ouest centrale francophone, c'est effectivement Prof. Alès qui a été nominé par le RAFANA. In SADC, we have Dr. Bella Sattar, who represents Sarua, but has also been in the previous technical working group that has developed the first feasibility study and recommendations on the PAQAA. In East Africa, Dr. Abdullah Baguma, formerly president of the East African Quality Assurance Network, and of course, Dr. Michael Mawa and IUCEA, who will be accompanying this process. And in North Africa, the NAQUAI, which is the National Quality Assurance of Egypt, unfortunately hasn't been able to join us today, but they are the strategic partner who will also be closely engaged in the interim council, and you can also reach out to them with any particular comments. We hope to launch this process by the end of July and to allow you a period of about 4 months to respond. And we welcome you to contact us with any questions. If you think that the case needs to be made in your ministry or in your Quality Assurance Council, we are happy to set up a bilateral meeting. And we also know that the director of ST of the African Union Commission, who spoke earlier, Professor Saidou Madagou, is willing to accompany and support this process. And should you need also a vote of support, a letter, or what have you from the African Union Commission directly towards your national quality assurance agency or ministry in order to be able to engage, please do tell us and we will make that possible. Okay, I think there are no more comments.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Yes, Apio, tell me.
No, just to add, I think you forgot from the Lusophone speaking, Maria. Yes.
Thank you so much. Please excuse me. We also have an advisor, Lusophone, our dear colleague Maria, who used to be the president of the Angolan National Quality Assurance Agency. So we also have all linguistic groups, main linguistic working languages represented in the PAQAA advisor team. Thank you so much. Okay, colleagues, thank you. Merci. Muito obrigada. I think this has been a big step forward.
Before Elizabeth?
Yes.
Since you mentioned my name, can I just have 1 minute, please?
Absolutely. The floor is yours.
Okay. No, thank you. I'm going to talk in Portuguese, obviously, because since I'm an advisor for the Lusophone, so I'll have this privilege. Primeiro, gostava de cumprimentar a todos e felicitar, antes de mais, a equipa PAQAA 3 e todos os outros parceiros envolvidos, porque este é um passo bastante importante no desenvolvimento da estrutura da PAQAA. Portanto, eu acho que é encorajador testemunhar um processo colaborativo que está sendo inclusivo e foi cuidadosamente pensado também, porque vemos ou vimos anteriormente e agora que está a valorizar o equilíbrio regional, colocando todas as regiões em contexto e particularmente a sustentabilidade, como é sempre uma honra e um privilégio poder integrar esse conselho, porque acredito que mais do que um papel institucional, vejo que esta minha participação é também uma oportunidade concreta de contribuir ativamente para a construção de um sistema que promova a confiança, a comparabilidade e a melhoria contínua no ensino superior do nosso continente. Portanto, estamos a falar de uma África num todo. Para Angola, particularmente, este é um momento relevante. O nosso país está empenhado no fortalecimento do nosso Sistema Nacional de Garantia da Qualidade e, ao participar nesta iniciativa, que é continental, podemos então alinhar-nos com as melhores práticas, partilhar os nossos desafios, as nossas experiências e, sobretudo, reforçar a nossa capacidade, que poderá ter então um impacto mais direto na qualidade da educação que oferecemos aos nossos estudantes. Portanto, fazer parte da PAQAA permite a Angola ter uma voz mais ativa nos debates regionais e internacionais sobre a qualidade, a governação e a mobilidade acadêmica. Então, para mim, é um passo bastante importante para uma maior integração, para a elevação dos padrões das nossas instituições e para a certificação das qualificações mais credíveis e competitivas. Portanto, gostava de dizer que agradeço mais uma vez a confiança depositada na minha pessoa. Estou plenamente disponível e motivada para contribuir no trabalho que ainda temos para frente. Muito obrigada.
Muito obrigada, Maria. And Maria is also going to be one of our advisors. Muito importante a voz lusófona. Então, muito obrigada. Just before we close, and I know we're out of time, but would any of the other advisors like to say something? Perhaps Dr. Abdullah Baguma would like to say a few words as one of the PAQAA advisors, if you're with us.
Sure. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, and all the participants. Mine is once again to say a congratulations to all stakeholders, because I mean the time was not enough to go back at all the memories and what has happened. But I just want to add something to what Elizabeth said when you said that we are under pressure. So for me, it just reminded me how I always consider education goals as advanced party for all the envisaged mobilities, all the envisaged harmonization goals. So take an example of the AU Agenda 2063. Our harmonization goals cannot wait to be achieved in 2063. For the Agenda 2063 aspirations to be achieved, the education goals have to be achieved earlier than that. And therefore, I commend all the support that has been continuously given, but even today's session was really a very positive interaction. And us as the advisors and the technical team, we assure you that we will do our best to make sure that indeed the education role as an adverse party for our regional and continental aspirations are realized. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think it would be very appropriate to end with these words and this vision. So colleagues, please join us in the Interim Council. This is that time, the moment to make the PAQAA a reality. We have a deadline. I think we have a pathway. So it really now depends on you making the political arguments and helping us to finally find solutions to some of the nuance and detail as it regards the governance. But I think we're getting there, and this is a huge step forward. Thank you so much, everyone. We will be in touch very shortly. And please do approach us with any concerns, questions, interests as it relates the PAQAA, the Interim Council, the agency review process, and any other matters linked to the PAQAA initiative. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon. Merci. Obrigada. And we'll see you very soon.
Merci.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank
revoir.
you so much.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Obrigada a todos. Tchau, até breve.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Everyone.
Au revoir.
Bye.
Merci.
Très bien, très
Au
bien.
revoir.
Thank you to
Merci, professeur
Michael.
Michael Marwa.
John Ekolo, tu viens d'arriver.
Merci, asanteni sana.
Apio.
Apio.
Yes, asante sana Nkiama.
C'est que c'est une réunion que je
Asante
parle de toi.
sana.
Apio, I've not seen you in a long time. Where have you been?
I'm
Hello,
here.
Apio.
Emmanuel, you got lost.
Apio, ça va?
Bye bye.
Hello,
Et
Bye.
toi?
Carissa, bonjour.
Ok.
Constant, bonjour.
Professor Constant.
Bonjour, bonjour, Sidonie, ça va?
Sidonie.
Greetings for
Sidonie.
your independence, Professor Constant.
Salut,
Greetings for the
Keita.
independence.
Ah,
Ok.
Sidonie. Bonjour.
Bonjour,
Presidente.
Apio.
Ah, ça va
Salut,
bien?
Keita.
Sidonie.
Bienvenue à vous
Thank
tous.
you very much, colleagues. Thank you.
Mamadou.
Hello.
Ciao, ciao. Alan,
Bye.
Sanabo,
Ciao.
bonjour.
Ciao,
Vous
ciao.
allez bien, Abidjan?
Bye.
Ça va très bien, Abidjan.
Bye.
Merci. À
Ah,
très bientôt.
oui,
See you
oui.
next time.
Très bien.
L'année dernière, on était à Maurice.